Hi everyone, I'm very happy to share with you this paper on effective ICT uses on mathematics achievement for immigrants in Western and Chinese countries. I am Mei-Shiu from Taiwan National Zhenji University. Christin Laschke is from Leibniz Institute for Science and Math Education. I'm very happy to be here in Freiburg, Germany, to share this paper. ICT offers opportunities to reduce educational inequality, but with concerns on digital divide. However, there are few studies focusing on digital divides of ICT use on learning outcomes. The aim of this study, therefore, is to identify effective ICT uses on mathematics achievement. The second aim is to explore educational inequality for students of different immigrant background and in Western and Chinese cultures or countries. Why compare the two countries? Because the two cultures are different and the authors are more familiar with the two kinds of cultures. At the same time, we will also control for gender and socio-economic status. Next, we go to literature review. The theoretical background of this study is the ecological techno-process model, ETP model. The model indicates that ICT use may account for learners' cognitive development more than SES and gender. Cultural and indirect environment interplay with ICT uses to impact learning outcomes. This is the ecological techno-process model, a kind of CET model. Outside is the macro system cultures. The second largest system is exosystem, is indirect environment. Then it is a microsystem. Microsystem can be the direct environment experienced by the student. For instance, inside school ICT use, outside school ICT use, or others. There are also mesosystems. It is the connections between the systems. All of these microsystems can directly influence bioecological system. Most of the time it can be achievement and attitude. In this study, the CET model for the macro system include Western versus Chinese cultures. Exosystem focus on immigration. It is an indirect environment. Microsystem is a direct environment. In this study is inside school ICT use and outside school ICT use for schoolwork or leisure purpose. There are also social interaction ICT use. For the bioecological system is math achievement, the outcome. ICT use on achievement conditioned by cultures. There's a study indicate that there is no national effect for mediating role of ICT use in the effect of SES on achievement. among some countries or regions in East Asia. For instance, Chinese Taipei is Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, Macau, and Shanghai. So these are countries of similar cultures. For ICT use on achievement conditioned by immigrant status, research finds that highest educational ICT use occurs for immigrant male students with educated parents. On the other hand, the lowest educational ICT use occurs for native female students with less educated parents for EU countries and Switzerland. The effect of ICT use on achievement can be also mediated by SES. SES increases children's educational and advanced ICT use. However, higher SES might lead to more leisure ICT use and reduced learning outcomes if there are abundant ICT facilities and little supervisions. The effect of ICT use on achievement can be moderated by gender or SES. For girls with parents of low educational levels, their more social interaction ICT use relates to higher STEM achievement at school. The negative mediating role of social interaction ICT use in the effect of SES on achievement is stronger for males. On the other hand, positive effect of a learning ICT use on achievement is stronger for females. There appears to be a trend that ICT use may be good for females. So the research question of this study is that for students from different cultures or countries and of different immigrant status, what are the effects of diverse ICT use patterns on math achievement controlling for SES and gender? For the method section, the data source of this study is from PISA 2015. There are 70 participating countries, 4 countries without immigrant status data. For relationships between SES and immigrant status, 30 countries have negative relationship, 22 countries have non-significant relationship, 17 has positive relationships. So it means that Hong Kong, Germany, Macau, and the UK, they have immigrant of lower SES, and Singapore and New Zealand has immigrants of higher SES. In this study, a special focus was placed on the comparison between the Western cultures and the Chinese cultures. Western cultures include Germany, the UK, New Zealand, and Ireland. For Chinese cultures, the countries include Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, and Macau. The measures for macrosystem is culture, is countries from the Western and the Chinese cultures. Exosystem is immigration. For immigration status, It is an indirect environment for students. A categorical variable is used. It is native, second generation, and the first generation. For microsystem, it focuses on ICT use. There are 4 kinds of ICT use patterns. First is outside schoolwork ICT use. For instance, doing homework on a computer. The second is outside school leisure ICT use. For instance, play games. Inside school ICT use, for instance, for learning purpose. For the fourth is social interaction ICT use. For instance, I like to share information about digital devices with friends. In the bioecological system with Mei-Shiu system, we focus on math achievement, controlling for gender and SES. Data analysis, we use regression analysis. Regression analysis was performed for native first-generation immigrant and the second-generation immigrant for each of the 9 countries. Weight is used. Some preliminary result. The first result is about relative standardized effect of beta on math achievement. SES has the highest effect. The beta is around 0.3. The second is ICT use with absolute beta around between 0.0 to 0.15. The 3 ICT use combined in total is around 0.20. However, there are positive, negative, and non-significant results. For gender has the lowest effect of beta. It's around 0.10. Males have higher math achievement, mostly. For natives, the effect of ICT use on math achievement can be found that for homework ICT use for Western cultures, the effect normally all are negative. But for Chinese countries, it's positive. It means that if students do more homework ICT use, then they normally have higher math achievement. But for Western country students, it means that if you do more homework ICT use, normally you have lower math achievement. For other kind of ICT use, the effects are normally negative, except that for China, social ICT use has positive effect. For second generation immigrant, homework ICT use, just like the native, are negative. Most are negative. Chinese are positive, but UK become positive and Taiwan and China become negative. For others, it's also most negative. There are some become positive for Taiwan social ICT use and Macau leisure and school ICT use. For the first generation, the effect remain except for UK become positive. And for others is also mostly negative. There are some exceptions. It positive for Germany and Taiwan social ICT use have become positive, and Ireland leisure ICT use become positive. For discussion, we can find that mass achievement is predicted or affected by ICT use and socio-economic status and gender. There are relative positive ICT effect. Homework ICT has highest effect. The next is social ICT, leisure ICT, and the school ICT. The question raised is that how can we combine the positive effect of ICT on achievement? The next issue raised is that perhaps combined ICT can affect more. For instance, SES has the effect of around 0.3. ICT combined can be around 0.2. Gender has relatively few effects. But we have to concern about there are many ICT use with negative effects. Effects of ICT use on mass for different cultures and immigrant status. Homework ICT use effect on mass achievement has the largest cultural differences. For Western culture, it's negative. For Chinese culture, it's positive, especially for natives. It's hard to know the reasons, but we can have some wise guess. For instance, perhaps because Western culture's homework ICT use serves as remedial purposes. For Chinese culture, it emphasizes academics and effort, so high achievers will take more effort after school, so that homework ICT use has positive effect on mass achievement. For social interaction ICT use, mostly the effect on mass achievement is negative. There are, however, some positive effects. For instance, for China natives, Germany second-generation immigrants, for Taiwan first and second-generation immigrants. Perhaps we can guess that perhaps collective cultures need more social interaction ICT for better mass achievement. For leisure ICT use, the effects mostly are negative, except for second-generation immigrants in Macau, first-generation immigrants in Ireland. However, I think it's very hard to find the reasons, because the relation between SES and immigrant status is negative for Macau but non-significant for Ireland. For school ICT use, the effects most are negative, except for second-generation immigrant in Macau. It's very hard to know the reasons. For conclusion, I will say that ICT use effect on mass achievement are weak, diverse, and subject to complex cultural issues. Combined diverse ICT uses may increase the effect. So especially we have to pay attention to negative ICT use effect. Social ICT use may be needed for immigrant in collective culture. Homework ICT use has effect on mass achievement for Western culture, but positive effect for Chinese culture. So it is the most significant cultural difference effect. Thank you for your listening. Comments are welcome.